Hello, and welcome back to the book club. We're going to continue with our reading of Pride and Prejudice with.
Hello. So I'm continuing this time. Last time Mel read the last chapter of the book, so it's my turn now. So let's get started.
We're Julian and Melissa, by the way.
Yeah, you can see our names on the screen, but I'm sorry I didn't remind you of my name.
Our names are on the screen. I forgot about it.
So, Chapter 7. Mr. Bennet's property consisted almost entirely in an estate of 2,000 a year, which, unfortunately for his daughters, was entailed in default of heirs male, heir male, on a distant relation, and their mother's fortune, though ample for her situation in life, could but ill supply the deficiency of his. Her father had been an attorney in Meryton and had left her £4,000. She had a sister married to a Mr. Phillips, who had been a clerk to their father and succeeded him in the business, and the brothers settled in London in a respectable line of trade. The village of Longbourn was only 1 mile from Meryton, a most convenient distance for the young ladies who were usually tempted. What word is that? I don't understand. Who were usually tempted. Thither.
Sí, thither. Como,
What does that mean?
Como a ir, pues.
Okay, going to the place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A most convenient distance for the young ladies who were usually tempted thither 3 or 4 times a week to pay their duty to their aunt, and to a milliner's shop just over the way. The 2 youngest of the family, Catherine and Lydia, were particularly frequent in these attentions. Their minds were more vacant than their sisters', and when nothing better offered, a walk to Meryton was necessary to amuse their morning hours and furnish conversation for the evening. And, however bare of news the country in general might be, they always contrived to learn some from their aunt. At present, indeed, they were well supplied, both with news and happiness, by the recent arrival of a militia regiment in the neighborhood. It was to remain the whole winter, and Meryton was the headquarters. Their visits to Mrs. Phillips were now productive of the most interesting intelligence. Every day added something to their knowledge of the officers' names and connections. Their lodgings were not long a secret, and at length they began to know the officers themselves. Mr. Phillips visited them all, and this opened to his nieces a source of felicity unknown before. They could talk of nothing but officers, and Mr. Bingley's large fortune, the mention of which gave animation to their mother, was worthless in their eyes when opposed to the regimentals of an ensign.
But the uniform!
Now you made me think of them talking like that. With that little accent.
A little weird accent.
Yeah, it will be very weird, but now I will hear it like that. After listening one morning to their effusions on this subject, Mr. Bennet coolly observed, "From all that I can collect by your manner of talking, you must be 2 of the silliest girls in the country. I have suspected it some time, but I am now convinced." Catherine was disconcerted and made no answer, but Lydia, with perfect indifference, continued to express her admiration of Captain Carter and her hope of seeing him in the course of the day, as he was going the next morning to London.
I'm sure he's not really doing anything to improve those minds, so he can go complain elsewhere. I mean, I'm not saying he's not right. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but it would make no difference coming from him, clearly.
Yeah, that was probably your job.
Yeah, exactly. "I am astonished, my dear," said Mrs. Bennet, "that you should be so ready to think your own children silly. If I wished to think slightingly of anybody's children, it should not be of my own, however. If my children are silly, I must hope to be always sensible of it. Yes, but as it happens, they are of them very clever. This is the only point, I flatter myself, on which we do not agree. I had hoped that our sentiments coincided in every particular, but I must so far differ from you as to think our two youngest daughters uncommonly foolish. My dear Mr. Bennet, you must not expect such girls to have the sense of their father and mother. When they get to our age, I dare say they will not think about officers any more than we do. I remember the time when I liked a red coat myself very well, and indeed, so I do still at my heart. And if a smart young colonel with 5,000 or 6,000 a year should want one of my girls, I shall not say nay to him. And I thought Colonel Forster looked very becoming the other night at Sir William's in his regimentals. Mamma, cried Lydia, my aunt says that Colonel Forster and Captain Carter do not go so often to Miss Watson's as they did when they first came. She sees them now very often standing in Clark's library. Mrs. Bennet was prevented replying by the entrance of the footman with a note for Miss Bennet. It came from Netherfield, and the servant waited for an answer. Mrs. Bennet's eyes sparkled with pleasure, and she was eagerly calling out while her daughter read. Well, Jane, who is it from? What is it about? What does he say? Well, Jane, make haste and tell us. Make haste and tell us. Make haste, my love. It is from Miss Bingley, said Jane, and then read it aloud. My dear friend, if you are not so compassionate as to dine today with Louisa and me, we shall be in danger of hating each other for the rest of our lives. For a whole day's... How do you pronounce the next one?
Tête-à-tête.
Tête-à-tête. Between two women can never end without a quarrel. Come as soon as you can on the receipt of this. My brother and the gentlemen are to dine with the officers. Yours ever, Caroline Bingley. With the officers, cried Lydia. I wonder my aunt did not tell us of that. Dining out, said Mrs. Bennet. That is very unlucky. Can I have the carriage? Said Jane. No, my dear, you had better go on horseback, because it seems likely to rain, and then you must stay all night. That would be a good scheme, said Elizabeth, if you were sure that they will not offer to send her home. Oh, but the gentlemen will have Mr. Bingley's chaise to go to Meryton, and the Horsts have no horses to theirs. I had much rather go in the coach. But, my dear, your father cannot spare the horses, I'm sure. They are wanted in the farm, Mr. Bennet, are not they? They are wanted in the farm much oftener than I can get them. But if you have got them today, said Elizabeth, my mother's purpose will be answered. She did at last extort from her father an acknowledgment that the horses were engaged. Jane was therefore obliged to go on horseback, and her mother attended her to the door with many cheerful prognostics of a bad day.
Oh, Lord.
Her hopes were answered. Jane had not been gone long before it rained hard. Her sisters were uneasy for her, but her mother was delighted. The rain continued the whole evening without intermission. Jane certainly could not come back. This was a lucky idea of mine, indeed, said Mrs. Bennet, more than once as if the credit of making it rain were all her own. Till the next morning, however, she was not aware of all the felicity of her contrivance. Breakfast was scarcely over when a servant from Netherfield brought the following note for Elizabeth. My dearest Lizzie, I find myself very unwell this morning, which I suppose is to be imputed to my getting wet through yesterday. My kind friends will not hear of my returning home till I am better. They insist also on my seeing Mr. Jones. Therefore, do not be alarmed if you should hear of his having been to me. And excepting a sore throat and a headache, there is not much the matter with me. Yours, etc. "Well, my dear," said Mr. Bennet, when Elizabeth had read the note aloud, "if your daughter should have a dangerous fit of illness, if she should die, it would be a comfort to know that it was all in pursuit of Mr. Bingley and under your orders. Oh, I am not at all afraid of her dying. People do not die of little trifling colds. She will be taken good care of. As long as she stays there, it is all very well. I would go and see her if I could have the carriage." Elizabeth, feeling really anxious, determined to go to her, though the carriage was not to be had. And as she was no horsewoman, walking was her only alternative. She declared her resolution. "How can you be so silly," cried her mother, "as to think of such a thing in all this dirt? You will not be fit to be seen when you get there." "I shall be very fit to see Jane, which is all I want." "Is this a hint to me, Lizzie," said her father, "to send for the horses?" "No, indeed. I do not wish to avoid the walk. The distance is nothing when one has a motive, only 3 miles. I shall be back by dinner." I admire
like an hour and a half walking.
Yeah.
A bit more, I think.
Yeah, maybe more.
Yeah, it is through the countryside.
3 miles, and wearing the clothes and the shoes they had, it would be.
And there is no GPS. I would be so lost.
Yeah, that just doing that would be quite an adventure at that time. Like, just I'm going to walk to the next house, which is really far away, and with no technology to call someone or look for where am I standing right now.
What if you break your foot on the way? And
you could just sleep with something and mess up your foot or your ankle or something.
Hit your head on a rock.
See, they were very adventurous without knowing it. Where was I? "I admire the activity of your benevolence," observed Mary, "but every impulse of feeling should be guided by reason. And, in my opinion, exertion should always be in proportion to what is required." "We will go as far as Meryton with you," said Catherine and Lydia. Elizabeth accepted their company, and the 3 young ladies set off together. "If we make haste," said Lydia, as they walked along, "perhaps we may see something of Captain Carter before he goes." In Meryton they parted. The 2 youngest repaired to the lodgings of one of the officers' wives, and Elizabeth continued her walk alone, crossing field after field at a quick pace, jumping over stiles and springing over puddles with impatient activity, and finding herself at last within view of the house, with weary ankles, dirty stockings, and a face glowing with the warmth of exercise. She was shown into the breakfast parlor, where all but Jane were assembled, and where her appearance created a great deal of surprise. That she should have walked 3 miles so early in the day in such dirty weather and by herself was almost incredible to Mrs. Hurst and Miss Bingley, and Elizabeth was convinced that they held her in contempt for it. She was received, however, very politely by them, and in their brother's manners there was something better than politeness. There was good humour and kindness. Mr. Darcy said very little, and Mr. Hurst nothing at all. The former was divided between admiration of the brilliancy which exercise had given to her complexion and doubt as to the occasions justifying her coming so far alone. The latter was thinking only of his breakfast. Her inquiries after her sister were not very favourably answered. Miss Bennet had slept ill, and thought up, was very feverish, and not well enough to leave her room. Elizabeth was glad to be taken to her immediately, and Jane, who had only been withheld by the fear of giving alarm or inconvenience from expressing in her note how much she longed for such a visit, was delighted at her entrance. She was not equal, however, to much conversation, and when Miss Bingley left them together, could attempt little beside expressions of gratitude for the extraordinary kindness she was treated with. Elizabeth silently attended her. But when breakfast was over, they were joined by the sisters, and Elizabeth began to like them herself when she saw how much affection and solicitude they showed for Jane. The apothecary came, and having examined his patient, said, as might be supposed, that she had caught a violent cold, and that they must endeavour to get the better of it, advised her to return to bed, and promised her some draughts. The advice was followed readily, for the feverish symptoms increased, and her head ached acutely. Acutely. Elizabeth did not quit her room for a moment, nor were the other ladies often absent. The gentlemen being out, they had in fact nothing to do elsewhere. When the clock struck 3, Elizabeth felt that she must go, and very unwillingly said so. Miss Bingley offered her the carriage, and she only wanted a little pressing to accept it. When Jane testified such concern at parting with her that Miss Bingley was obliged to convert the offer of the chaise into an invitation to remain at Netherfield for the present. Elizabeth most thankfully consented, and a servant was dispatched to Longbourn to acquaint the family with her stay and bring back a supply of clothes.
I mean, if you think about it, we're talking about a time where people didn't have like antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things.
I was thinking about that.
Die very easily.
I was thinking exactly about that.
Cures were very dubious.
It sounds silly now, but really, if you got a cold in someone else's house that was very far from yours, and you had no easy way to move, and you could die from a cold, it makes sense
that this pneumonia really easily.
Exactly, you could get
like you don't have any like. What if you have a tendency to like allergies, like an allergic asthma or something like that, and then you get a cold and it becomes pneumonia, and you don't have like albuterol or absolutely anything, no antibiotics for the infection in the lungs. You just have to see if it works out. Hardly breathing.
Yeah.
I mean,
sounds like a silly, ridiculous thing. Almost like, I this is all on purpose to stay in the house, but really,
it is.
No, it is.
At the same time,
it is, but it does.
It is actually dangerous.
It doesn't sound so far-fetched, like that would be the normal thing to do at the time. Like, you got sick, you have to stay because we will not let you to die on the middle of the field. Right? That doesn't make sense.
Oh, it's already my turn.
I think I finished. Let me check. Yeah, It's your turn.
Chapter 8. At 5 o'clock, the two ladies retired to dress, and at 6:30, Elizabeth was summoned to dinner. To the civil inquiries which then poured in, and amongst which she had the pleasure of distinguishing the much superior solicitude of Mr. Bingley, she could not make a very favourable answer. Jane was by no means better. The sisters, on hearing this, repeated 3 or 4 times how much they were grieved, how shocking it was to have a bad cold, and how excessively they disliked being ill themselves, and then thought no more about the matter. Like, oh no, this is so bad. So, What were you talking about? And their indifference towards Jane, when not immediately before them, restored Elizabeth to the enjoyment of all her original dislike.
Back to
their
normal.
brother, it's like, okay, so my judgment was correct.
Yeah.
They're assholes. I'm going to enjoy looking down on them. Their brother indeed was the only one of the party whom she could regard with any complacency. His anxiety for Jane was evident, and his attentions to herself most pleasing. And they prevented her feeling herself so much an intruder as she believed she was considered by the others. She had very little notice from any but him. Miss Bingley was engrossed by Mr. Darcy, her sister scarcely less so, and as for Mr. Hurst, by whom Elizabeth sat, He was an indolent man who lived only to eat, drink, and play cards, who, when he found her prefer a plain dish to a ragout, had nothing to say to her. When dinner was over, she returned directly to Jane, and Miss Bingley began abusing her as soon as she was out of the room.
Oh, come on.
Her manners were pronounced to be very bad indeed, a mixture of pride and impertinence. She had no conversation, no style, no taste, no beauty. Mrs. Hurst thought the same and added, "She has nothing, in short, to recommend her, but being an excellent walker. I shall never forget her appearance this morning. She really looked almost wild."
My God.
"She did indeed, Louisa. I could hardly keep my countenance." Oh, God. That is silly. Very nonsensical to come at all. Why must she be scampering about the country because her sister has a cold? Her hair so untidy, so blousy. Yes, and her petticoat. I hope you saw her petticoat. 6 inches deep in mud, I am absolutely certain. And the gown which she had been let down to hide it, not doing its office. Your picture may be very exact, Louisa, said Bingley, but this was all lost upon me. I thought Miss Elizabeth Bennet looked remarkably well when she came into the room this morning. Her dirty petticoat quite escaped my notice. You observed it, Mr. Darcy, I am sure, said Miss Bingley, and I am inclined to think that you would not wish to see your sister make such an exhibition. Certainly not. To walk 3 miles, or 4 miles, or 5 miles, or whatever it is, above her ankles in dirt, and alone, quite alone. What could she mean by it? It seems to me to show an abominable sort of conceited independence, a most country town indifference to the decorum. The thing is,
Abominable sort of conceited independence.
yeah, independence is always seen as a bad
it's horrible.
thing
Yeah,
with women.
it's
just
the worst a woman can have.
It shows that you are kind of like a loose morals kind of woman.
Yeah.
The thing is, at that time, women used to be accompanied, like women of this rank had to be accompanied everywhere to make sure that they were safe, right?
Yes.
And like no one approaches them, nothing happens to their virtue, which is the only thing that matters, and all of that. And in town, that would have been very logical because it was much more dangerous, obviously. Or like traveling really far or things like that. But like if you're within your own neighborhood in a relatively, small village in the
small community,
middle of nowhere, England, it's not like it's going to be a big deal. It's not likely that she's going to be hurt or anything like that. But of course they are much more, let's say, more fixed on propriety and decorum rules and things like that, because they're more used to the rigidity of London, which is much more because they're very posh.
I get it from the cultural and the society point of view, how it was, how it worked, what they expected from people. But it's still funny to see that.
But and it's also obvious that they understand that. Like she understands the difference of being in the country and being in town. Like she said, it seems to me to show an abominable sort of conceited indifference, the most country town indifference to decorum. It's like, I am completely aware that things are different here, but I am going to criticize them anyway.
I kind of want to have a t-shirt that says that. Like the phrase with a very
haughty looking girl.
But in an illustration style of the time.
Let's highlight it. I'm going to highlight it for the future.
We should. It's so funny.
Okay. And it shows an affection for her sister that is very pleasing, said Bingley. I am afraid, Mr. Darcy, observed Miss Bingley in a half whisper, that this adventure has rather affected your admiration of her fine eyes. Not at all, he replied. They were brightened by the exercise. A short pause followed this speech, and Mrs. Hurst began again. I have an excessive regard for Jane Bennet. She is really a very sweet girl, and I wish with all my heart she were well settled. But with such a father and mother and such low connections, I am afraid there is no chance of it. It's like, okay, no one agreed with my criticism. I'm going to pretend to be a decent person and give backhanded compliments left and right. Honestly. And I love how Miss Bingley only speaks to Darcy, basically. And can you just try not to be so obvious? It's just really embarrassing. I think I have heard you say that their uncle is an attorney in Meryton. Yes, and they have another who lives somewhere near Cheapside. That is capital, added her sister, and they both laughed heartily. If they had uncles enough to fill all Cheapside, cried Bingley, it would not make them one jot less agreeable. But it must very materially lessen their chances of marrying men of any consideration in the world, repeated Darcy. To this speech, Bingley made no answer, but his sisters gave it their hearty assent, and indulged their mirth for some time at the expense of their dear friend's vulgar relations. I mean, so generous and loving of their friend. With a renewal of tenderness, however, they reappear to her room on leaving the dining parlor and sat with her till summoned to coffee. She was still very poorly, and Elizabeth would not quit her at all, till late in the evening when she had the comfort of seeing her asleep. And when it appeared to her rather right than pleasant that she should go downstairs herself. On entering the drawing room, she found the whole party aloo. I don't know what that means. And was immediately invited to join them, but suspecting them to be playing high, she declined it. And making her sister as the excuse, said that she would amuse herself for the short time she could stay below with a book. Mr. Hurst looked at her with astonishment. Do you prefer reading to cards? He said. That is rather singular. Miss Eliza Bennet, said Miss Bingley, despises cards. She is a great reader and has no pleasure in anything else. I deserve neither such praise nor such censure, cried Elizabeth. I am no great reader, and I have pleasure in many things. In nursing your sister, I am sure you have pleasure, said Bingley, and I hope it will soon be increased by seeing her quite well. Elizabeth thanked him from her heart, and then walked towards a table where a few books were laying. He immediately offered to fetch her others, all that his library afforded. And I wish my collection were larger for your benefit and my own credit, but I am an idle fellow, and though I have not many, I have more than I ever looked into. Elizabeth assured him that she could suit herself perfectly with those in the room. I am astonished, said Miss Bingley, that my father should have left so small a collection of books. What a delightful library you have at Pemberley, Darcy, Mr. Darcy. It ought to be good, he replied. It has been the work of many generations. And then you have added so much to it yourself. You're always buying books. I cannot comprehend the neglect of a family library in such days as these. Neglect? I am sure you neglect nothing that can add to the beauties of that novel place. Charles, when you build your house, I wish it may be half as delightful as Pemberley. I wish it may. I mean, how about ignoring entirely what he said?
Yeah.
But I would really advise you to make your purchase in that neighborhood and take Pemberley for a kind of model. I mean, that is really weird. There is
Yeah.
not a finer county in England than Derbyshire. Um, with all my heart, I will buy Pemberley itself if Darcy will sell it. I'm talking possibilities, Charles. Upon my word, Caroline, I should think it more possible to get Pemberley by purchase than by imitation. Elizabeth was so much caught by what passed as to leave her very little attention for her book, and soon, laying it wholly aside, she drew near the card table and stationed herself between Mr. Bingley and his eldest sister to observe the game. Is Miss Darcy much grown since spring? Said Miss Bingley. Will she be as tall as I am? I think she will. She is now about Miss Elizabeth Bennet's height, or rather taller. How I long to see her again. I never met with anybody who delighted me so much. Such a countenance, such manners, and so extremely accomplished for her age. Her performance on the pianoforte is exquisite. It's just, I can't with the annoyance.
Yeah.
I mean, like, can you just like stop? How do you call that in English?
What?
Sucking his ass, I guess.
Yeah, just sucking up.
Sucking up. I don't remember how you say
I
it.
think
What
that,
is the
yeah,
expression?
I think it's sucking up to be polite.
Sucking up. Like honestly, but it's like so annoying. I would be so annoyed if someone were talking to me like that. It's like, can you just shut up? None of the things that you say sound genuine in any way at all, and it's just really annoying.
That's not it's not only annoying, but very, very uncomfortable too.
Yeah, it feels a lot like this person wants something and it is expecting me to give something, and it's like, how about you shut up?
Yeah, how about you shut up, or just tell me what you want and let's go.
Yeah,
let's do it quickly.
But this is not that society. This is we never say anything.
I understand. It's all
straightforwardly society.
It's all based on hints and subtleties.
Politeness and veiled opinions and comments that nobody means.
Yeah, and saying things in the most complicated ways just to not be direct.
Yeah. I mean, if we were born in that time, we would probably just be like that.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
We're criticizing something
it's only bothersome for us because we don't live like that, and it would be hard for us now to adapt to that. Right? But I imagine that's what we would do as well.
Of course. we will be used to this because that would be the
I mean, we would still kind of want to laugh at her.
That's a good thing of looking at this from outside.
Yeah, it's like you can understand Elizabeth's father a little bit. It just doesn't make him not neglectful as a father, but
still, of course not.
You know.
Yeah, but even then he has a point.
It is amazing to me, said Bingley, how young ladies can have patience to be so very accomplished as they all are. All young ladies accomplished, my dear Charles. What do you mean? Yes, all of them, I think. They all paint tables, cover screens, and net purses. I scarcely know anyone who cannot do all of this. And I am sure I never heard a young lady spoken of for the first time without being informed that she was very accomplished.
Of course not.
So sweet. He's kind of like Jane, automatically expecting the best of people.
Yeah.
Your list of the common extent of accomplishments, said Darcy, has too much truth. The word is applied to many a woman who deserves it not otherwise than by netting a purse or covering a screen. But I am very far from agreeing with you in your estimation of ladies in general. I cannot boast of knowing more than half a dozen in the whole range of my acquaintance that are really accomplished.
Such difference between those two. One is seeing good in everything, and the other is just ready to destroy everyone and everything.
Nor I am sure, said Miss Bingley. Then, observed Elizabeth, you must comprehend a great deal in your idea of an accomplished woman. Oh, he's just gonna walk into that one, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, I do comprehend a great deal in it. Oh, certainly, cried his faithful assistant. Oh, certainly, cried his faithful assistant. No one can be really esteemed accomplished who does not greatly surpass what it is usually met with. A woman must have a thorough knowledge of music, singing, drawing, dancing, and the modern languages to deserve the word. And beside all of this, she must possess a certain something in her air and manner of walking, the tone of her voice, her address and expressions, or the word will be but half deserved. All of this she must possess, added Darcy, and to all she must yet add something more substantial in the improvement of her mind by extensive reading. I am no longer surprised at your knowing only 6 accomplished women. I rather wonder now at you knowing any. Are you so severe upon your own sex as to doubt the possibility of all this? I mean, I wouldn't believe that of men either.
Yeah, exactly.
I never saw such a woman. I never saw such capacity and taste and application and elegance as you described united. Mrs. Hurst and Miss Bingley both cried out against the injustice of her implied doubt, and were both protesting that they knew many women who answered this description, when Mr. Hurst called them to order with bitter complaints of their inattention to what was going on forward. As all conversation was thereby at an end, Elizabeth soon afterwards left the room. Eliza Bennet, said Miss Bingley, when the door was closed on her, is one of those young ladies who seek to recommend themselves to the other sex by undervaluing their own. And with many men, I dare say, it succeeds. But in my opinion, it is a paltry device, a very mean art. Like literally
that's what
what
they
you
doing.
have been doing the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Makes no sense.
Yeah. And also she was not exactly talking about herself being better.
Yeah.
She was saying like this whole idea of yours is ridiculously idealistic and no one fits that. You know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's still true for many people now in this time. That weird idealized version of what a woman should be or what a man should be.
What a person should be.
It's impossible.
Yeah. Like, I have told you, I consider even our laws are basically written for an idea of ourselves that doesn't exist. And this is why everything does not work.
Yeah, totally.
We keep living like we're going to be decent people, but we are not decent people. We're just people. Sometimes we're decent, sometimes we're not. We have to create laws based on who we can be and not just who we wish we were.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, the decency is a thing you learn. It's not part of your nature by default, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we shouldn't give that for granted to anyone. Because it just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, I mean, we should just be, you know, doing a Ulysses contract kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like just thinking about the version that you will be at that point when you are not behaving like you wish you would. Like when you don't have the strength to do the right thing, that's what you have to counter.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes
not the person that you
sense.
are when you are in perfect control of your circumstances and everything is going great. How will you be when things are not going great? And then counter that. Stop acting like everything is always perfect.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
We are not just one version of ourselves. Our context changes who we are.
We have many versions depending on context, exactly. So we have to, well, maybe not guess what is going to happen, but at least keep in mind that it's not going to be as it is when everything is good and
there's
working.
a chance that you will be weak or that you will do something stupid. And is that what you're supposed to be measuring and not the perfect you?
Yeah.
You know? Or was I? Mean art. Undoubtedly, replied Darcy, to whom this remark was chiefly addressed. Of course. There is meanness in all the arts which ladies sometimes condescend to employ for captivation. Whatever bears affinity to cunning is despicable. He's just so condescending and so certain of him being above everybody else that it's just really annoying. Miss Bingley was not so entirely satisfied with his reply as to continue the subject. Elizabeth joined them again, only to say that her sister was worse, and that she could not leave her. Bingley urged Mr. Jones's being sent for immediately, while his sisters, convinced that no country advice would be of any service, recommended an express to town for one of the most eminent physicians. This she would not hear of, but she was not unwilling to comply with their brother's proposal. And it was settled. I mean, it's the only one that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And it was settled that Mr. Jones should be sent for early in the morning, if Miss Bennet were not decidedly better. Bingley was quite uncomfortable. His sisters declared that they were miserable. They solace their wretchedness, however, by duets after supper. I mean, I really like the sense of humor Jane Austen has, in the way that she just shows the ridicule of the pomp and lie of this behavior, because it is for her a normal thing. Like for us, this is something that is kind of like more absurd in terms of people never acting in a way that is like this,
Yeah.
Or well, we do, but like differently, right? But for her, this was the norm. This is what she was living with, and she was calling it out, right? Right on her own time.
Yeah, I know that this is maybe not a very good comparison, but seeing the way she was able to write about her own time and her own society and see the flaws and the ridiculous things it had makes me think about some comedians now that are able to separate themselves from society and see it and tell about the ridiculous things we have. Of course, it's not the same. She was a writer. She was doing a completely different thing. But being able to
kind of
see things from afar and like separate yourself from it and just
to
think
be able
about
to just like look at it from a bird's eye.
I like that very much. I wish I would be able to do that.
Yeah, me too. Because I like talking about self-awareness and then I have none.
I mean, we are self-aware enough to realize that, but not
that we're lacking it, but not exactly.
Not to the point where we are able to.
Where we are lacking.
Exactly. Like it's a middle ground, a weird middle point to be.
Let's count that as one point.
Yeah, let's say there's levels to that. We're just on level 1. We have to go a little bit more.
Let's level up.
Yeah.
Well, he could find no better relief to his feelings than by giving his housekeeper directions that every possible attention might be paid to the sick lady and her sister. He's a very nice guy. Yeah. I like him very much.
Yeah, I like his character too. Okay, so we are done for today. We just did 2 chapters. We are almost an hour into the episode. So let's leave it like this for now. Yes,
I think that is more than enough for now. Let's continue next time. Please feel feel free to join the conversation about everything that happens, everything that you think about Jane Austen as a writer, or whatever that you want to comment inspired by this.
Yeah. I also hope we can get recommendations from people to what to read next, because we have some ideas, but it would be nice to see what people would like to see here too. So if you're joining the conversation, please give us your recommendations too. Okay.
I hope you have a good one.
See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.